All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a story that really sits at that crossroads. Big business, high stakes politics. Specifically, this very public falling out between former President Donald Trump and Elon Musk.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like a personality clash or random tweets. It seems the real flashpoint was a specific piece of legislation, a pretty massive one, actually. A $1.6 trillion tax and spending bill working its way through Congress.
Okay, so that's the setup. Our mission then for this deep dive is to use the sources we've got and try to understand, well, what exactly was in this bill that caused such a reaction? What were the economic ripples? And maybe most interestingly, what does this political bust-up really signify? Let's get into it.
Okay, so the heart of the controversy, at least from their perspective, seems to be these provisions in the bill. They were aimed at basically cutting key subsidies for electric vehicles, for clean energy.
Okay. So anything hitting EV subsidies, that's going to get Elon Musk's attention straight away, right?
Yeah.
For Tesla.
Absolutely. And his reaction was, well, it wasn't subtle. He went straight to X, his platform, called the bill a disgusting abomination. Pretty strong stuff.
Wow. Okay. And his reasoning?
He argued it would just blow up the deficit massively. And he even specifically criticized government efficiency. He brought up DOGE, that Department of Government Efficiency initiative he'd actually supported before.
Right, the one meant to streamline things.
Exactly. His point seemed to be, look, this bill is the exact opposite of efficient government. It's just waste.
Okay, so that's Musk's take. What about Trump? How did he respond to this?
Well, Trump voiced his own disappointment, but he aimed it right back at Musk. Essentially suggested Musk's opposition was purely self-interest, because Tesla's bottom line was potentially on the line.
And he brought up their past relationship.
Yeah, he mentioned Musk's previous support, like campaign donations, and reminded people Musk had served in an advisory role during his administration, sort of a "you used to be with me" angle.
So you've got this major public clash playing out online over a policy that directly impacts one of the world's biggest companies.
Mm-hmm.
Does this actually move the needle financially? Any market reaction?
Oh, definitely. The economic tremors were pretty quick. Sources point to Tesla stock taking a significant tumble, dropped nearly 9% on, I think it was a Thursday. And that was part of a bigger slide, too. About 25% down year to date around that time.
9% in a day is huge.
Yeah.
And 25% overall. Investors were clearly nervous.
Very nervous. The sources estimated the potential hit to Tesla's annual revenue could be, well, substantial, maybe as high as $3.2 billion.
Billion, with a B. Just removing those EV credits and related incentives.
Yeah, if those subsidies and, other clean energy regulatory benefits were changed or removed, that was the fear driving the sell-off.
Wow. Okay, $3.2 billion potential impact. That's serious money. But it wasn't just the share price, was it? You mentioned this created a brand image issue, too.
That's a really important layer here, yeah. Tesla's brand, it was already kind of in a complicated spot politically. Musk's earlier, let's say, alignment with the Trump administration had already alienated some potential buyers, particularly Democrats.
Right. I remember that.
But now, by pushing back so publicly against Trump over this bill, he risked unsettling his Republican supporters, too.
So he's kind of caught in the middle. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, politically speaking.
Sort of, yeah. It puts the brand in a tough position. And the sources suggested this wasn't just theoretical, it was potentially hitting sales, even in really key markets, Europe, China, and even Tesla's home turf in California.
It really shows how tangled up a CEO's politics and a company's market performance can get these days. So speaking of politics, what happened in D.C.? Did this fight have wider ripples?
It certainly seemed to signal a shift in alignments. You saw Musk and some allies kind of distancing themselves more publicly from the Trump orbit. I mean, Musk himself had actually quit that White House Advisory Council earlier, back on May 30th. So this wasn't totally out of the blue, but part of a trend.
Okay. And others involved in that DOGE thing also stepped back.
Yeah. People like Jared Isaacman, Steve Davis. They also seemed to distance themselves around that time, a noticeable cooling off.
And the bill itself, this $1.6 trillion package that started it all, did this feud affect its chances?
It seems like it did. You had this kind of unusual situation where both Trump and Musk were slamming the same bill. Both were criticizing it for what they termed excessive giveaways, wasting taxpayer money.
An unlikely alliance in opposition.
Exactly. And that combined opposition seemed to put the brakes on the bill's progress in Congress. It stalled out. And Musk, he really leaned into it, used his social media reach to campaign against it, even threatened to back primary challenges against politicians who supported the bill.
That's flexing a different kind of muscle, isn't it? Political influence via platform and, well, threat.
It is. It shows a different dynamic of power.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've seen the bill, the very public clash, the market hit, the political maneuvering. What's the sort of central takeaway from this whole episode?
I think the key thing to grasp here is how a policy disagreement, even between just two very powerful individuals acting outside traditional party structures, can it can fracture relationships very quickly. And it can have immediate measurable impacts on a major company's finances, its stock price, its brand, and it can even directly influence what happens with legislation in Congress.
Right. It's a really clear illustration of those complex links, isn't it? Between big personalities in business, political figures, and the actual policies that affect us all, especially in this, hyper-connected digital age.
Exactly. Volatile connections sometimes.
It certainly seems that way. And it definitely leaves you thinking, doesn't it? Just how much can the personal dynamics and policy squabbles between a handful of really powerful people actually shape markets, shape laws, and even how you, the consumer, feel about a major brand? Something to mull over next time one of these high-profile disputes hits the headlines.